Hello. I just wanted to record a quick gratitude video for those that have inspired me on this journey. I'd like to thank Richard Bach to start with. It was at the age of about 15 that I heard about his book Illusions. And just hearing about the stories in that book, I knew that I wanted to swim in the earth. And not only that, I knew that I had the ability to swim in the earth, and that's definitely what I was going to do. I'd like to thank Alan Watts for his view, his wisdom, his intelligence, and his introduction to Zen. I'd like to thank Benjamin Hoff for his Tao of Pooh and his Tay of Piglet, and others along the way that have inspired the Tao and the Zen sort of approach to spirituality, kind of planting the seeds of Zen. Then I suppose I have to thank Eckhart Tolle for his book, The Power of Now. It seemed like a cutting edge work at the time, and though I don't remember a lot of it now, it led me to be an Eckhart Tolle meditation leader for a couple of years. And there's still one of his questions, one of his CDs that still sticks in my mind, which is this moment as it is? A great inquiry question. Then I have to thank Rhonda Byrne indirectly for leading me not once but twice to Hail Dwoskin. So her book The Secret led to the movie The Secret, which received a bit of fanfare at the time. And the movie itself didn't do that much for me, but I saw Hail Dwoskin in the movie. And Hail Dwoskin, the author of the Sedona Method, someone that I followed up on. I read his book, loved the Sedona Method, and I employed it to a large extent over successfully for many years. Then I'd like to thank Byron Katie for her work. One of the simplest and most brilliant inquiry questions of all time: is it true? It seems so simple, but it's just so often overlooked, Can I be 100% certain that this is true? Then I have to thank my friend Carol, who at some point came to me and asked me if I wanted her other copy of A Course in Miracles. And somehow at the time I knew that, and I said so, that I don't think I'm ready for that. Apparently I wasn't. About a year later, I got a copy of the book for myself and just read it voraciously. And then did the course a couple of times over the next couple of years. And that book and its accompanying little books for me started to turn my view of the world on its head. And then again, another of Rhonda Byrne's work, The Greatest Secret, inspired Hail Dwoskin during the pandemic to start a podcast. And it was in this podcast that I started to hear about non-duality. I'd never heard that phrase before. And then all of its kind of, current teachers that I would follow up on. Mostly on YouTube, some on audio files, audio recordings. David Bingham's speaking about non-duality was just so simple and yet so beautiful. You could just hear the truth in his words. And I'd like to thank John Wheeler for his recordings. David Bingham had been triggered to awakening listening to John Wheeler, and I found those recordings extremely impactful as well. He'll also interviewed Rupert Spira, and Rupert Spira's work just so logical and clear, with the Advaita Vedanta approach. And I'd like to thank Suzanne Chang, just for her refreshing and gut-wrenching honesty, guess I have to say. It's fantastic. I'd like to thank Chris Taylor of Wild Satsang, just for, God, just being present and just that energy of just hanging out in nature or with his dogs or wherever he was. I'd like to give a big shout out to Angelo DeLillo. His work and his book, just for me, is the most explicit in what non-duality is, the stages of it, pre-awakening, post-awakening, shadow work, deep awakening, pitfalls, like you name it. Very well spoken on all the aspects of awakening and non-duality. And as a side note, I got to thank Z-Dog MD. Something about Z-Dog and Angela getting together. I always had a little shift whenever the two of those guys were together. Just their energy and their sense of humor, just powerful. I'd like to thank Douglas Harding for his book, The Headless Way. Just clearly stating his viewpoint with his sense of humor and just rigorously sticking to it. I'd like to thank David Karse for his perfect, brilliant stillness and just relating his awakening and just so clearly and so impactfully. I'd like to thank Jez Albro. his work is Life Beyond Personality. And he really simply and clearly states some things about non-duality and what's involved with it. My favorite one is just really simple and clear explanation of the difference between feelings and emotions, where feelings are the original feelings, the direct feelings of experience. Emotions are the translated, interpreted, conceptual interpretations of the feelings, usually on top of a resistance or a wound, trauma of some kind. And that just opened a door for me, for sure. At the moment, I'd really like to thank Paul Hederman. Having had an addictive personality myself, Paul's work with addicts on the 12 steps, plus his work with Course in Miracles, plus is just raw unholiness. Sort of browbeating, Zen slapping, bamboo rod thwacking approach. It's just so refreshing. Like, you don't put Paul Hederman on a pedestal. Just you can't. And yet he pushes the message over and over. There's no worshiping the messenger here. It's just the message, the message, the message. With little nuances thrown in, and just, I mean, if an addict can do it, if Paul Hederman can do it, we can all do it. Thank all of you. Peace and love on this journey.